Hi, it's Tilly here, and by now I'm hoping you're having some real fun experimenting with your new Buttafly. In the first video, I talked about how when we sit on a flat surface, perhaps a regular rectangular yoga block, we tend to roll onto the back of the sit bones. This is a posterior pelvic tilt. It drags the sacrum with it. This throws out the natural backward-facing curve in the lumbar spine, and that has obviously a knock-on effect for all of the curves in the spine above. So what we're going to have a look at today is the two main strategies that people use in order to try and counter this posterior pelvic tilt. So I'm going to do something that I never normally do these days, and I'm going to come into sitting on a regular rectangular yoga block. So although I may look as if I'm fairly upright, I can tell you that when I put my hand on my low back, I know that I no longer have the backward facing curve in my low back. I've gone into a very slight posterior pelvic tilt. I'm going to exaggerate it a little bit for the purpose of this video so you can see what I'm talking about. The first strategy that people will do in order to counter this position is they will try and achieve some uprightness further up the spine. They can't move in the pelvic area because it's locked, there's nowhere to go. And so what tends to happen is they will overly extend in the middle part of the spine, the thoracic area here. So that's what it will look like. Now, I can't do it particularly well because I'm fairly tight in this area, but I've seen, especially in a lot of younger women, they find this quite easy to do, and there's a lot of overactivity here in the paraspinal muscles. So what we're talking about is the muscles in the middle back and in the sort of the junction between the thoracolumbar junction there, and the muscles are like bowstringing. They're very, very tight. And this obviously causes fatigue and eventually can lead on to pain. Well, that's the first strategy. Now the second one, and again I'm going to exaggerate coming into a posterior pelvic tilt here. Because this changes my relationship with gravity, in order to counter that sense of falling back, what I'm going to do is bring my shoulder girdle forwards of the pelvic girdle. Now, if I want to look, say, up at my yoga or my meditation teacher, what I then might do is do the over extension in the thoracic area. So you can see that on first glance, you might think that I'm sitting fairly upright, but in fact, I don't have a lumbar lordosis in place. My muscles are bowstringing there, and I have overextension in the thoracic area. So this is not a good position to be, and it will cause discomfort in the first place and eventually lead to pain. Trying to get people to come out of this position when they've been used to holding it can be very, very difficult. So what I'm going to do now is come onto the Buttafly and show you how I like to help people lose these strategies. Now, sometimes what happens is people, when they come onto a Buttafly, automatically everything comes into a really nice alignment, and I don't really need to give them any instruction whatsoever. Other people, they will still exhibit this over thoracic extension and also an altered plumb line, and so they'll often sit on the Buttafly and they say, yeah, I feel great. And I say, well, from my point of view, you're not sitting on it great. So what I want to do is a little bit of correction here. And no matter how much, if I start with this position and I try to take them out of it, it doesn't really work. So I'm going to come into a slump, not normally a position that we encourage, but for the purpose of trying to let go of these strategies which we no longer need when we sit on the Buttafly. And I'm going to keep my upper body, my neck and the thoracic spine fairly relaxed. And then what I'm going to do is start moving at the base of the spine, letting the pelvis use the fact that it's on the incline surface of the butterfly to come into neutral. Let the lumbar spine find its natural backward facing curve. And then the cervical spine and the thoracic spine just unfold at the last minute so that the shoulder girdle comes into line on top of the pelvic girdle. The muscles on the front of the body, the muscles on the back of the body, very quiet. The head coming into balance, and the eyes finding their way to the horizontal. This can be a really nice way, not only of coming into a good alignment on the butterfly, but also helping people to really understand that we can move through the whole length of the spine. And certainly sitting on the butterfly gives people so much more movement than they used to when they sit on a flat surface, that it's really nice to play with that. So I look forward to hearing how you're getting on, and we'll see you next time. Namaste.